And I think the fourth mail, there are a lot of questions here. Combined bonus and gratuity. Again, the first query is whether bonus is eligible for left employees. Again, when we say left employees, properly relieved cases, absconded cases, then I think any dues to company because of not served. No, see again whether the person is properly relieved or if he is absconded, right? If the person is otherwise eligible for payment of bonus under the act, then yes, the employer has to pay. When we say otherwise eligible, if the person has put in 30 days of work service in that accounting year, then for that 30 days, whatever amount he received as wages, then for that bonus is to be calculated and it is to be paid to him. So when it is a proper reliever, then I think there shouldn't be any issue. You can directly pay it to him, right? In case of absconded cases, that is what the second clause is. Maybe if you have the details, bank details of the individual employee, make the payment there. And in addition, send a communication to his last known address so that your part will be over, right? So irrespective of whether this person is an absconded employee or he is properly relieved, if the person is otherwise eligible for payment of bonus, yes, the employer is supposed to make the payment. The third one is any dues to company because of not serving the notice period. Again, we saw under section 17. So what are all the items which can be adjusted and what are the items for which deductions can be made from bonus? Again, it is not there, right? So when you say deduction, it can be made from the year-end bonus only in case of commission or omission of some misconduct because of which some financial loss is caused to the company. Then to that extent, you can make a deduction from the final year-end bonus, which is payable to the individual employee. Other things, no, you cannot do that. You can recover it, but not from bonus. That is the point here. Again, dues to company can be recovered from bonus, not from bonus, because that is not authorized. If you strictly follow section 17 of the Payment of Bonus Act, you cannot do that, right? Gratuity. Then what is the procedure to issue the benefits after death during services? I think we discussed that, how to pay to the legal heirs or the percentage of sharing legal heirs. I think let us not, as employers, get into all these details. Right? Ensure the nomination is valid. If the nomination is valid, it is sufficient if you make the payment to the nominee, so that it is subsequently the responsibility of the nominee to properly distribute the amount received to the legal heirs. That liability will not be there on you as employer, right? So that is that is where I think the significance of getting the nomination, valid nomination, lies. Again, percentage of sharing and all. Then see, once you get into the once you say that nomination is not in place or nomination is not valid, then definitely you may have to make the payment to legal heirs. There, if there are 4 legal heirs, then you have to, unless and otherwise in the absence of any other document produced by any of these legal heirs, then you may have to equally give it to them, right? That is how it is to be done. But if there is some dispute, then you will have an advantage as an employer, because if there is a dispute, just quoting the dispute, you calculate the amount and deposit the amount with the controlling authority. Then the liability or the responsibility will go to him to distribute to it to the legal heirs. If there is no dispute, then I think the process, the ownership of completing the process will lie on you. Then you may have to run behind the legal heirs for settling it. So that difficulty the employer may have if there is no valid nomination. Then whether contract employees, limited period appointment eligible for gratuity. Limited period may be extended and issue separate contract out. I'm not very sure. We discussed contract workers. No, they are not entitled for gratuity except in Tamil Nadu, right? That is number one. Since you say limited period appointment, if you are talking about fixed term employees, yes, they are entitled. They are entitled, and even though if they are not serving for 5 years, still the gratuity is to be calculated and it is to be paid to the fixed term employees proportionately. And if once you take a person on fixed term basis and subsequently if you are extending it, I think there could be some other risk, right? but that's a different issue, not under bonus or gratuity. Please look into it. Then can we recover the loan or any other dues from the payment? No. Even both from bonus and gratuity, no, it is not possible. We cannot do that, right? Even we saw under Gratuity Act, even courts cannot attach the gratuity payment, right? Or we may have to do some kind of strategy and get it done, right? But directly, if you ask me, no, it cannot be done. Even from bonus, you cannot deduct it. Any employee wants to voluntarily retire from services, whether mandatory, the companies need to pay gratuity bonus up to retirement age. The company has not accepted his voluntary retirement. The company accepted his, no. See, I think there is slight confusion in this query. When you say voluntary retirement, the scheme must be in vogue in the company in the first place. Now, for example, if you take the public sector companies, it will be there on a permanent basis. Those employees who have completed 20 years of service, they can opt for voluntary retirement. It may not be the case with private sector employees, right? In respect of private employment, only if the scheme is announced, and that will also be there for a small period, temporary period. During that period, maybe who are all the persons, employees who can avail this VR scheme, that will also get mentioned in the policy itself, scheme itself. So when some persons falling under that class, if they are applying for voluntary retirement, then I think management will not have any choice to refuse their application. So necessarily you may have to accept the voluntary retirement application of the individual employee, and you may have to relieve that person. So once you do that, then all the other settlements up to the date of exact date of relieving, you have to calculate and make the payment to the individual employee, right? It is not necessary that you have to calculate it till retirement age, unless and otherwise in the scheme, voluntary retirement scheme, you have announced for your company, if you had made a clause that compensation will be paid for the balance of the service, years of services also. If you have done like that, then you may have to pay. Otherwise, it is not required, right? So that is how it is to be seen. Yeah, I'll move on.